In this video, I'm going to show you guys how I made $4,500 today trading NASDAQ. I'll show you guys the conviction as to why I took the setup, why I entered, my sizing, my bias going into the day, how did it play out, and basically pretty much go over everything about this trade. Now, here's the P&L and the execution for the actual trade, so I'm not just fucking saying it out of my ass. If you want to live trade with me every morning, learn more about how I trade, there'll be a link in the description for the mentorship as well. So let's jump right in. So before we get into it, I'm actually going to turn the executions off so we can get a bit clear understanding. And I also want to clear drawings up a bit and just kind of play out price action with you guys and actually go through my thought process throughout the day. So the first thing I want to talk about is before we even get into the price action today, I want to go over last night, because last night is honestly why this trade even took place in the first place. So last night was Sunday. We did a charting session with the group and we talked about our bias going into the main thing that I wanted to go over and the main thing that I wanted to talk about was, number one, the weekly bias. Now, my weekly bias going into this week when we talked on Sunday was extremely bearish. If we look to the 1 hour, we can see we have a nice market maker buy and sell model. So I'm expecting the draw on liquidity to be these lows to the left of us. If we look where the initial manipulation move was, we had accumulation, price moved higher, did it at the highs, and then we had a distribution move to the downside. So we had a power of 3 up here. This 1 hour fair value gap continued to hold bearish. We came back up, rejected, then starting to sell again towards the lows down here, which is draw on liquidity. So going into the day, I was very bearish, but I wanted to see, again, an area in which I wanted to see price reject and have some sort of manipulation. So what do I mean by that? Well, going into the morning, I don't necessarily know if notice that we're continuing to generate buy side at these highs here. Now, this imbalance has already been rebalanced to, but I wasn't necessarily sure if we maybe wanted to come up here, take all these lows, and then maybe have that move down. Now, the way that I told my team and the way that I viewed this morning is notice how ES was building structure. Now, I want to go back to where this was last night so I can actually give you guys an accurate representation of what we were looking at. But if we look at where ES was, because again, this is still extremely important to recognize the differences between ES and NQ. Now, what I want you to notice is the differences between ES and NQ is ES has a lot more bullish price action than NQ does. NQ, for example, is really easy to understand and very easy to see and clear that this is a market maker sell model. These imbalances to the left of us completely got ran through, and we're going to be drawing towards these lows, and we're probably not going to stop until we take them. Now, compared to ES, we're actually still holding a daily fair value gap. This 4 hour imbalance is still holding as well. We just swept these internal lows, and we just created a lot of structure here, swept sell side. And if we zoom in even more, we're continuing to generate buy-side liquidity at all of these highs. This high, these equal highs here. We're continuing to generate buy-side. So the times in which the market has two different draws, because going into the day, I'm going to say, okay, well, ES, looking at this chart, is honestly pretty bullish. And NQ is pretty bearish. So there's two different kind of draws on liquidity here. Now, when there's two different draws on liquidity, ES and NQ, one thing that you want to pay attention to is order flow. What happens when market opens? Is ES pushing? Is NQ sitting still? Is one of them dumping? Is one of them pumping, right? Notice that a lot of the time when there's two different draws on liquidity, number one, you're going to get less efficient price action and you're going to get faked out a lot of the time, stopped out, because you want both assets to be aligning with each other. But going into the morning and going that we talked about last night, I expected to see ES first come up and run all of these highs because we're in an area in which we expect to reject. We look really, really bullish, but NQ's bearish. So what happens most of the time is ES will go manipulate the highs and NQ will sit still because NQ drawn liquidity is higher. So what will normally happen is ES or NQ, again, depending on whichever stronger asset is, will go manipulate some sort of high, some sort of low, form an SMT, so then the opposite asset can then continue towards whatever the liquidity is. And that's exactly what ended up happening today. Market opened and we ended up running all of these highs, right? So again, ran all of these highs. We rebalanced to this 4 hour fair value gap as well. But keep in mind, where is NQ on this chart? Yeah, exit out of this and let's start replaying. At this specific time, these highs are nowhere near being taken on NQ compared to ES. So now ES has ran through all of these highs. NQ has not. This is showing a crack in correlation as a divergence between assets. So I know that not only we have, again, SMT at pretty much every single one of these highs. So I'm going to mark this in as well as this one, right? Here as well. But now my goal is to say, okay, the first thing that I needed to see happen, right? ES coming to take this high tells me NQ doesn't need to go higher. So I shouldn't be afraid that NQ is going to break through this and go rebalance to here, because the drawn liquidity is lower and ES is already rebalanced, and now we have an SMT. Right? So now let's zoom in and let's take a look at NQ. Trade that in. So once NQ ended up coming up, we ended up taking this internal high. We had a fair value gap here as well on the 1 hour. 1 hour fair value gap getting respected. So now I zoom into the 1 minute. Now at this point in time, I missed my original entry on this. I missed my original entry, right? Original entry would be waiting, boom, right here. We initially take buy side, SMT at the highs, came up, take this internal high, displace to the downside, get an internal shift in structure. Then you get a fair value gap. This would be the initial entry. So taking a short position, again, targeting the external draw. What is the external draw? Equal lows, right? This is the biggest reason why we're taking this trade to begin with, is because we're targeting the external draw on liquidity. So not only that, but we respected this, and we're aligning the internal model with the external model. This now becomes sell side. And we're looking to see new lows and a continue. So now I missed this original entry. So now I continue to wait, and I try to catch the second stage. So now, once we get a big move lower, I now have to see, again, a rebalance in price. So I zoom in. Price comes up, takes this little high here. I enter in short once we rebalance price action. Keep in mind as well, if we actually take the standard deviation move, high, below, what does price end up doing here? We hold 2 to 2.5 of this area. Again, what do we expect price to do once we hold 2 to 2.5? We expect to go back to equilibrium of the range. So if I mark out the high and low, price ends up running up. Come on. Off, I guess. Price ends up running up to equilibrium of the range before continuing lower all the way down to sell side. I put my execution back on. Yeah, I had an initial entry right here. I took off just a little bit early because I knew we were most likely going to go turtle soup this high. So I took small profits, I think around probably like 400, 500 bucks here. Took it off early. Price ended up coming back up, re-entered in a better price. Why did I also re-enter here? Because now we were back at equilibrium of the price range. Entered in, sold off all the way, and took off at sell side. Now, could I have left a runner? Absolutely, because where did we end up going to? Deviation 4 projection, and again, deviation 4 projection, all the way back inside this. Well, now price is going to sell off. I would expect probably a sell off the rest of the day to go take those relative equal lows. Well, so. And that's pretty much it. So again, the biggest things that I want you guys to focus on as well, and the biggest things that, again, continue to happen time after time, is align the external draw with the internal. The times in which you will get, number one, the most efficient price action, you will become the most consistent, you will take the most winners trading, are the times when you align the internal model with the external model. What do I mean by that? Internal model is this: buy side swept, SMT at the highs, displacement to the downside, pull back to an inefficiency, targeting sell side, boom, internal model. Internal model also favor of the external model. If I zoom out, there's also a draw on liquidity lower, right? This is a model in its own. we expect price to go reach towards these equal lows. This is a complete model on its own. So when you start aligning price action in those areas, that's literally how you trade. Find out where the bigger time frame is drawing towards. Go to the daily, go to the 4 hour. Where's the 4 hour time frame drawing towards? Look for an imbalance. Zoom in, look for buy side, look for sell side swept, look for a stop rate in the opposite direction, wait for displacement, take a fair value gap. That is literally it. Overall, good day to start the week. I actually really didn't even plan on trading today because it wasn't No News Monday, but when I did see how price action was starting to play out, I did really like it. Again, I only took on 3 contracts with this trade. Normally, I will take on 5 to 6 contracts, so I traded half my size, which again was a good thing to do because I originally didn't even plan on trading today because it was a No News day. So I did manage my risk accordingly, which was good. But other than that, solid day to start the week. I wish you all the best of luck going into the rest of the week. Hopefully you learned something from this video. If you did, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that good jazz. If you want to continue to see more of these trade recaps, I know I haven't really been making videos like this when it comes to trade recaps, but if you want to learn more, or if you do want me to, make sure to leave a comment saying recaps, and I'll make sure to get looking at it. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, if you want to watch me trade live in the mornings, do charting sessions with the group, be a part of an amazing community, access to private content, there'll be a link in the description. Yeah, I'll see you guys next one.